So iPhone versus Galaxy 2025, which one is better? That's the aim of today's video. Let's find out. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. And today I want to talk about the iPhone versus the Samsung Galaxy experience here in early 2025 and which one I think is currently better based on the owner of many of these products and review. I've reviewed a lot of these as well. And this video is not sponsored, so this is all going to be just my personal opinion. And Samsung nor Apple paid for none of these phones, sent none of these out. I purchased all of these with my own money to help review them for you throughout the time that they've been out, and we'll continue to review the newer ones that come as well. I want to begin by talking about prices here. So we're going to kind of like tally these off. The first one is that you're usually going to pay more for the Apple device. It's just the bottom line. You're just likely to pay more. These phones right here have a luxury image or a brand image that they just command the higher price. They hold their value better just because people want that Apple logo. They want that Apple brand. And, you know, some people say, no, I don't. But you're probably not the consumer that I'm talking about. So I do think you're usually going to, because of these reasons, you're going to pay more for the iPhone. They hold their value more. That's just the way it is. Samsung is also commanding larger MSRPs, or the retail price of the Samsung S24 Ultra, which I claim the best phone of 2024, and we'll be seeing the S25 Ultra soon here on the channel, also claims a large price tag. However, the difference is most people never pay the full price for a Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. There's usually discounts or something like that, trade-in values, and you're usually going to get this thing for a lot cheaper. Samsung has better trade-in values, hands down. They usually give you better discounts, but Apple devices definitely are going to cost you more most of the time. So the first round is going to go to Samsung for giving you, I would say, better value for money for your price tag in terms of features and hardware. But when you go to trade it in later, that might go to the iPhone. We'll talk about that later. Let's move on to the next one, which is going to be the build quality. So this one is a tie. These are the greatest examples of it here. The Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, iPhone 16 Pro Max. This is also similar to the iPhone 15 Pro Max. You'll see they do have titanium builds. They kind of rock the same kind of materials, different shapes and sizes, but both of them are definitely almost identical. And I'm calling it a draw. Neither one you go with is going to feel more premium than the other. They both feel equally premium. Some people are going to think that the shape of the Samsung doesn't look premium. Some aren't going to like this shape over here on the left. Some are going to love this shape. Some are going to love this shape. It's really personal preference, but objectively speaking, when you pick both of these up, they both tend to feel like the same type of phone in terms of build quality. So I can't really give one or the other a much bigger advantage. They both kind of feel about the same in terms of that area. So it's a tie when it comes to the build quality here in 2025. So when it comes to design, the iPhone 16 actually looks a little bit more different than the iPhone 16 Pro Max looks to the 15 Pro Max. Now, both of these phones are definitely Samsung phones, and iPhones here in 2025 are definitely both nice, clean designs, and some would argue the best in the market. However, one thing that they both kind of do similar lately is they don't really change it up that much. Neither company has been doing that much. And Samsung used to push the edge of design, would always change things up, trying to find new ground, trying to find a new thing. But since the S20, 21, 22 Ultra, 23 Ultra, 24 Ultra, the S22, the S23, S24, these phones have all been looking very, very similar. Same with the 16, the 15. Yeah, they changed the cameras a little bit. Couple of design changes to make it look a little cleaner. Just a little refinements and polishes here and there. But generally, they keep their designs the same. They don't want to really mess with success, it feels like. But that can be perceived as a little bit boring in an industry where we want to see innovation. We want to see change. Technology is one of those industries where you just like to see something new and fresh. And while they do have enough freshness to still convince people to upgrade, you know, some of their older iPhones, people are not looking to upgrade every single year because the changes are just not that substantial. There was a time when the notes would come out and every year the note would look a little bit different. not even a little bit, it would look substantially different. And then the Note 20 Ultra looked hugely different from some prior versions, like a lot more refined. But ever since then, it's kind of been the same thing over and over again. So from a design perspective, I feel like once again, they're tying it up. They're both kind of doing the same thing. So I really want to see one or the other really go to town and switch it up this year. That would be really, really fun to see. So when it comes to the display, Samsung is going to get the win here in 2025. And let me tell you why. Mostly because they're basically putting anti-reflective coatings on here, which is something that is really noticeable. But also, the Samsung displays are brighter. They get more vivid when you turn on the vivid mode. And while some people didn't like the way the S24 Ultra looked because they weren't used to an anti-reflective property, still technically it has a higher pixel density. It does have a higher brightness, and of course color science and the way the saturation and all that stuff is going to look on the phone and all that jazz might still lend you to like the whites and things of that sort, maybe the color reproduction on the iPhone display, but Samsung makes both of them. So, you're basically getting a Samsung display either way you go. But definitely, I think Samsung phones have the better displays, and I'm pretty sure this upcoming 25 series is going to fix some of those complaints from the S24. So, I have to give it to Samsung. They're doing sharper, brighter, and better anti-reflective properties. They're just better displays, objectively. So Samsung wins it here in 2025, and we just got started. We'll see if that changes later this year, but I don't feel like Apple's going to make a display with higher density. We'll see. So when it comes to software, I do have to say that Apple is definitely still the more polished looking software, although One UI is really doing great. I don't think it looks as polished as the iPhone, as cohesive, as nice looking. However, the software is definitely a little bit slower feeling on the iPhone, and I'm surprised I'm even saying that, but nowadays the iPhones are starting to not feel as fast. They haven't for a while, but they're really starting to feel a little bit slower compared to Android phones because the way iOS animations look just don't fly along as quickly. And maybe if they just clean this up, they'll be pretty much on par. And you could basically turn off animations. I understand that. And some people argue that, this looks more natural anyway. But at the same time, I would say that iOS definitely feels like it runs across the system a little bit slower. This is not a slow phone by no means. It's a powerhouse. But I feel like the way it loads things, the animations, no back gesture, I feel like it takes me longer to do stuff on iPhone here in 2025. Not that I didn't feel that way before, but nowadays, Samsung is giving you non-linear animations on here, along with really fast speed. So faster animations, non-linear, and you can also change them in developer options to be snappier. You can also throw on launchers with different animation effects. I gotta say, we're splitting hairs here. There's more polish on the iPhone. There's definitely more features on the Samsung. The ecosystems are pretty close now because both have tablets, laptops, headphones, you name it. But at the same time, you're kind of a tie here nowadays, really. It just depends on if you want polish or functionality. You want slower but visually pleasing animations or faster and still visually pleasing animations. I think I'm liking the way Samsung's going. I want to see a little bit more effort from Apple to really change things up a little bit. It's been so similar for so long. And while they do have a lot of nice new features like customization on the home screens, nice polished widgets, I don't think they have to mess with iOS too much but they could still give it faster animations. They could give it a faster overall speed, maybe their own version of a back gesture on both sides of the screen. That would be pretty nice. Also, no split screen still. It's such a basic feature. There are $200, maybe even less Android phones that can do split screen. These still can't do it. Even the Samsung S24 can do it, and it's a much smaller phone than the Pro Max. I can pop view windows and all kinds of stuff over here on this phone. Not on this one, though. It's a tie. It really just comes down to what you prefer, functionality or the ecosystem and polish of iOS. Now, when it comes to AI features, Apple has the newer Siri with the ChatGPT integration, writing tools, as well as visual intelligence here with a long press hold on the camera. A lot of these are really cool features, but they're definitely still in the infancy stages of the software here with the AI stuff. I would say that Samsung is in the lead when it comes to the AI stuff. They had their features first, and they have a little bit more, I would say, across the board. But Apple definitely is doing pretty good here getting this thing out now. It's in beta. It says right there, still in beta, even though we are on official software. We're still in beta for Apple Intelligence. Image Playground is there, as well as Genmoji and things of that sort. But over here, I would say that Samsung integrating the circle to search right here, like a lot of other Android phones. Gemini can be powered on from the side button if you want to set it that way. I don't have it set like that right now. Galaxy AI, they have a ton of features very cleanly laid out. I just think they're a little bit ahead here with these features. Some people are arguing that these are gimmicky features. Some of them are if you don't use them, but you could say that about everything you don't use. If you don't use it, anything's gimmicky. A split screen is gimmicky if you don't use it. S Pen is gimmicky if you don't use it. But if you use it, it's not. And when it comes to performance, I gotta say that I think Samsung is taking it here in 2025. They're going to be bringing the 8 Elite, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, and the Galaxy with One UI 6 earlier in the year. Last year was beating the iPhone 15 Pro Max in 3D Mark, not in Geekbench scores, but in actual usage. It's the speed of the way the software runs. It just feels faster than iOS, snappier, faster animations, and now non-linear like they were in One UI 6. They're even smoother now. I just don't feel like the iPhone performs better anymore, especially on their base model iPhones. They definitely look slower with the 60 hertz. And while they do have really good speed still, these are no slowpokes. None of these phones here are slowpokes. These are all sitting at the top of the game, but they're just not as quick as the Samsung phones. So in the real world use, while these can benchmark higher, they can on paper sound better. In the real world, running through the software on a Samsung feels faster than this. And I actually think some more stock feeling phones feel even faster than Samsung phones, but we're not going to talk about that here. This is Samsung versus Apple. Definitely the slower animations and the lack of a back gesture on both sides are definitely slowing Apple down a little bit. Also, the gaming performance and heat management, especially on S24 Ultra, has been amazing. The 16 Pro Max caught up though, so this one's pretty much on par as well. But the 15 Pro Max wasn't, so we'll see what happens with the 8 Elite. Will it push Samsung into another dimension? Stay subscribed, stay tuned. We're going to do speed tests on that with the S25 Ultra coming soon. Now, when we talk about the area of camera, I'm going to have to give this one to the iPhone. I think the iPhone has better color reproduction. It kind of reminds me more of a Sony camera or something like that, like an actual mirrorless Sony camera, or maybe even a point and shoot Sony camera. And it's just really good quality. Very good. The Samsung phone also has really good quality as well on the S24 Ultra. However, I feel like its results are a little softer from a standpoint. But from the pure camera standpoint, I do have to say I do think Apple might be slightly in the lead here, especially when it comes to the softer looking results from Samsung. But that's, again, can be subjective. It really depends on you. But Samsung's going to take my next section, which is zoom. Samsung blows away the iPhone in zoom. It's not even close. 2x, 3x, 5x. Now in these ranges, we can do this on the iPhone as well. It's when you start getting to 30, 50, 100, like it just keeps going and going and going. And there are some competitors in the Android space that are doing similar things in terms of zoom length, but Apple's not one of them. They're only at like 25. They probably believe that that zoom quality is not good. So they probably are not putting that at the moment. However, I do think one day we are going to see like 50 times zoom on the iPhone, but it's not here yet. And it definitely, after 5x, it gets pretty digital looking on the iPhone, a little bit grainy looking. It tries to clear up a little bit, and it's still impressive that both of these can go this far and zoom in on things. And you can see they do AI processing in the background to make it look better than it really does. But at the same time, Samsung is crushing it with zoom. They are taking that crown right there. The next area is going to be camera features, and Samsung's taking this one as well in 2025. Here's why. Go over to more. There you go. They're all right there. There's a ton of them. Dual recording. You can do both cameras, both sides. You can do this front side. You can also do the back camera at the same time. Now they have these easy settings right here as well in One UI 7. It's amazing. And then if we go back to dual recording, go back over here to more, single take, portrait video, expert raw. And a lot of these things are available on iPhone as well. However, you got to go digging around in the settings to find them. Over here, you can just click the settings in this little easy to reach section. And all of it's right in camera. but it's where you really want to get granular control, like in Pro Video, for example. You don't need to download Final Cut Camera or any third-party app. You can just go ahead and get some Pro Video. And I'm actually going to start shooting some videos with my S24 Ultra because you can just look through this camera and see, look at this quality. It's basically matching my mirrorless that I'm shooting this video on, which is the G9 Mark II. And that thing's already amazing. So this phone's camera, when it comes to functionality, features, it's on another level by comparison. But when it comes to video, I'm going to have to call it the iPhone for just like basic standard video. It just looks so amazing. Like, it's hard to describe. The focus is like perfect all the time. It has really good color reproduction. You put on this action mode over here, it can get really steady shots. It's just such a great camera, a great video camera for the average user. I don't care who you are. You take out the iPhone, press the camera control button, and you just rock out. You get some amazing video without having to know how to do anything. I do have to dig into the Pro Video to get my absolute most amazing results on the Samsung, although its video is also pretty darn amazing. I do think the iPhone still has a slight edge here in the video department in 2025. Even the base level iPhones, iPhone 16, iPhone 16 Plus, those are still really, really impressive as well. So I'm going to give that area to iPhone. And when it comes to battery life, I'm still going to give it to iPhone, especially on like the 16 Pro Max versus the S24 Ultra. This phone just lasts longer. There's just no way around it. I could tell you numbers. I get a couple hours longer than like the S24 Plus and base S24. Over the S24 Ultra, I'm getting like 1 hour difference, but it's long enough to notice. So, especially in standby, the Samsung still don't have as long a standby as the iPhones, and they just drain when I'm not doing anything sometimes in my pocket. They're still great battery life. Don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted. I could still get through a full day. But this one, I'm like at 60% in the morning sometimes, and I'm starting the day with like 49, 40 on the Samsung. So I definitely like the battery life more on the iPhone. It's definitely in the lead here in 2025. However, it's not in the lead when it comes to the size of the capacity. And I think this is going to change this year as well as we start to see new battery technologies being developed and introduced. That might change. Also, it's not winning in this area. Samsung wins the charging round as well. It charges faster as well, not by much. And OnePlus is blowing them away in charging speed, by the way, but Samsung still charge faster than the iPhone, so they're going to take this round here. When it comes to audio, it's basically a tie. Both of them do have very good audio, and you're not going to really hear a massive difference between the competitive phones like the iPhone 16, the Galaxy S24. Maybe a little bit more loud sounding, I would say, with the Dolby Atmos enabled over here on a Samsung device. But on the iPhone over here, you're going to get really good audio right out of the phone without having to tweak any settings. It's just not something that we need to talk too much about. You're getting great audio either way you go. It's basically a tie. So when it comes to the phone dialers, all of them look kind of similar, but the actual performance is going to go to the newer iPhone's modem. I'm getting better reception than I do on my Samsung phones in these underground garages and different areas that I'm just not used to getting signal in. The iPhone actually has a better modem. I think we're going to see the same one or maybe even better on the S25 line, but not on the S24 line. This is still great though. Samsung never really had an issue here. Don't get it twisted. But the iPhone has stepped up a little bit more, and I get better signal now sometimes on my iPhone than I do on the Samsung. When it comes to value retention or resale value when you go to sell your phone later, years later, couple years later, 3 years later, 4, iPhone's getting you more money back. That's just the bottom line. Samsung's not doing that. The value tanks, and the only way you're getting a good discount is if you trade back and get another Samsung. So you kind of get maybe trapped in that little discount cycle too much if you don't want to lose money too much on your Samsung phone. Over here, you definitely will retain value a little bit better. And don't get it wrong, none of these are investments. These are not investments. You are going to lose money if you buy a phone and expect to sell it. You're not getting your money back. You're going to lose money. That's just the way it is in electronics. But at the end of the day, if I was to choose one, I'm like, I want to get something back later. I'd probably pick the iPhone here. So if you tallied up every score and everything I talked about, the final score is 4 out of 16 areas I discussed tied. 7 went to Samsung. So 7 areas that we talked about went to Samsung, and 5 went to the iPhone. So I'm crowning Samsung in 2025 right now as the objectively better phone currently from a hardware perspective, from everything it offers. However, keep in mind, these are just a few areas. We could have talked about a couple other areas that would have maybe evened it out, like the satellite via text messaging over here, the DeX over here, the S Pen over here, the Samsung Galaxy S24 having a super smooth display, way more zoom than the base level iPhone. The base level iPhone having a really, really nice overall lightweight design. There's a lot of areas that, we could have maybe evened it out a little bit. But I think objectively, it's harder for me to make a video saying reasons why the iPhone is blowing away the Samsung, and than it is for me to say some reasons why the Samsung is winning here. And that's because Samsung throws everything in the kitchen sink, and Apple focuses on a few areas and refines them and tries to perfect them. However, lately, they need to perfect these bugs because lately on iOS 18.2, at least at the recording of this video, I haven't been having the best experience with apps not working properly all the time, some crashing, some slowdowns, and weird glitches I've never seen before. So that's just something that could be fixed with bug updates. But at the end of the day, 2025 is going to be a great year once again for you to maybe get a new phone if you have a way older one. These are the 2024 models, but we're going to be covering the 2025 models soon. In 2025, though, I do think currently Samsung is slightly ahead here. Only slightly, though. They're not like way ahead, but they're slightly ahead if you look at the overall package. So that's my conclusion there. Let me know your thoughts on both of these. And don't take it as like I don't like one or the other, because a lot of people are like, oh, Nick's a Samsung fan. No, Nick's only an iPhone fan. No, Nick's this fan. He's that fan. I'm a tech fan, bro. I bought all of these. And I love all of them, and I switch them and rotate them so I can give you proper reviews. If I don't use them, I can't give you a review on them. So, yeah, that's my take, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Be sure to be well, and peace.